Hello and welcome to episode 2 in this series of our podcast, Simply Holistic Living. In this episode, I'm in conversation with Willie Horton, Irish psychologist living in France, helping people to change their lives. Enjoy. I started off saying to you, I'm inspired, and you said to me, I'm inspiring myself by your programme. I just want to thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
Not at all. Pleasure is all ours.
Simply Holistic Living. And I started my podcast out of a passion, I suppose, a journey and searching for, I was doing some meditation, was definitely getting caught up in my thinking mind and just looking for something. So I started the podcast really as a journey in my own search that might benefit other people. And I came across your work through a friend, and I knew straight away, this is it. This is the work that I need to do. So can you tell, for people listening to this, a little bit about your work? I know the Psychology of Success is the program I'm doing, the online program. Just some of the key elements that are in that.
Yeah, of course. Julie, first of all, thank you for having me on your podcast. It's a pleasure, an absolute pleasure. And indeed, it's an absolute pleasure to be able to share some of the insights both you and I have as a result of your work working through the online program and the work that I've been doing for nearly 29 years at this stage. You mentioned your thinking mind. And isn't that the problem that we all have?
Yes.
Our thinking minds run away with us. And what we all need to realize is that the life that we think we have isn't the life that we can actually have, because our thinking mind gets in the way of everything. Our thinking mind takes us off down alleys and mugs us basically on a day-to-day basis. And it does the same thing day-to-day by virtue of the fact that when we use our minds in the way in which nature intended, we think the same thoughts every day. We're not aware of it because it's so normal, it's so ordinary, it's so everyday. We just take it for granted. So we're not aware that we're creating a version of reality through our thinking that isn't the life that we could have. I suppose that's the key thing. And everybody must realize, or needs to realize, that there's no such thing as good thinking. All thinking is flawed because of the way in which the brain is designed and the way in which the brain evolved. All thinking is flawed. All thinking leads to overthinking. And even good thinking leads to bad thinking. Like wondering about something always leads to worry. It's like wondering is on a worry spectrum. Like getting annoyed is on a stress spectrum. Everything takes us down into places where we're uncomfortable in what we think is our comfort zone, in our little way of life, in our little rut. And so many people, I suppose everybody with whom I've worked over all those years, has stumbled across me for whatever reason at the right time, because they feel stuck. And some of them will express it that way. Some of them will express it in terms of being desperate. Hopefully nobody ever needs to get desperate to take charge of their own state of mind, but unfortunately it happens. People realize that there's something more that they want out of life. Now, I don't mean more in terms of nicer cars and higher stiletto shoes and that kind of stuff. That's not what I mean. Although very often people think that stuff will give them happiness. That stuff might give you pleasure, but pleasure isn't the same thing as happiness. We achieve happiness. We can achieve, as you know from our Wednesday evening Zooms for online program owners, we achieve peace of mind by letting our mind clear and getting thought out of the way. But even that phrase, getting thought out of the way, suggests that there's some big operation involved. You mentioned meditating right at the beginning as well, and most people will have come to meditation mainly to relax or stop some of the madness going on in their own heads. People don't realize that in order to take control of our state of mind, we do have to meditate. It's the only scientifically validated way. I'm talking about cognitive psychology, I'm talking about neuroscience. The only scientifically validated way we have of turning back on the parts of the brain that we need to live our lives to the full, that were switched off as a result of the way the normal mind works when we were 12 or 13. We're talking about, as you know from the online program, the attentional spotlight, our ability to focus, our ability to know what's going on, our ability to be present in the here and now, which of course is the only place where we can actually live our lives and be our best selves. So meditation turns that part of the brain back on, the attentional spotlight. It's turned off at the age of 12 or 13 because evolution designed us to be hunter-gatherers and not to think for ourselves in real terms, but to live on automatic pilot. Psychology actually calls it the automatic pilot. So this part of our brain was switched off when we were 12 or 13, and meditation turns it back on. So regardless of whether you are in the online program, my online program that you mentioned, the Psychology of Success, or whether you're just coming to meditation for whatever reason, you need to realize that meditation isn't just something nice to do. It isn't something that will simply relax you while you're meditating. Meditation will turn back on the parts of the brain that we all need to turn up to our own lives in the here and now.
That's really interesting, because I came from a place where I was doing meditation, probably hit and miss, but meditating, thinking, oh, this is lovely and relaxing. And then I was like, oh, I've got to go to work. Not having that realization that the power of meditation. But since I've been doing your online program and working with you, that meditating, that awareness has made a difference.
Julie, I think that is actually the key, because most of the people with whom I've ever worked before I met them were meditating in the first place and were getting none of the benefits of meditation. I met one guy who'd been doing transcendental meditation every morning for 20 minutes in the morning and again in the evening for 20 minutes. And he'd been doing it for 23 years. He'd been trained in that way of meditating in India. And he said, I would have got more relief. I hope I can say what I'm about to say on your podcast. I would have got more relief from scratching my backside for 20 minutes every morning and every evening, because he'd never made the connection. And that the connection that you've just mentioned and the awareness of that connection is the important trigger. I'm not just meditating because, it's nice and relaxing. And as you said, all hell is going to break loose afterwards, just like it does every day. No, we meditate because it turns back on the part of the brain that enables us to know what's going on in the here and now. And more importantly, know what to do and obviously what not to do as a result of knowing what's going on in the here and now. So, people teaching meditation will the old Zen way of telling you why you're meditating is, you meditate to meditate. No, you don't. And other people will say you meditate to relax. No, you don't. It'll relax you, but that's not why you meditate. Yeah. You meditate to be cool, calm, and collected, not while you're meditating, but when you're not meditating, because that's when the difference is made in your life.
Yeah. And that was a real wake-up call for me, when I started to hear those things, the level of excitement of a breakthrough going, oh my God, this is the game changer. And I had a brain injury to my brain many years ago. So, that information about the neuroscience of what's going on in the brain, that really struck home to me going, wow.
Well, what we've discovered over the last few years through neuroscience is incredible. If you have a brain injury, the brain will make sure that the uninjured parts of the brain take over the functioning of the injured part of the brain. If you have a brain injury in an area of the brain where the brain can actually not just take over the function, but actually repair itself, that is what it'll do. I mean, the most recent research in neuroscience shows that if you were 75 years of age, and neither of us is 75 years of age yet, but if you were 75 years of age and had never meditated in your life before, if you started meditating at 75 years of age, 8 weeks later, parts of the brain that had atrophied, in other words, parts of the brain that had died simply as a result of reduced cognitive function as we get older, those parts will have been revitalized. They'll actually come alive again. And the other thing that was discovered is 75-year-olds still have stem cells in the brain. They can actually create new neural pathways in the brain. But in order to be able to do any of that with your brain, you have to be in control of your brain. Not, somebody said to me a few years ago, you're talking about mind control. No, we're talking about taking control of the piece of equipment between your two ears and allowing it do what it does naturally, as long as it isn't tied up in thinking.
So this thinking is the false me. This is another thing that really, while I was listening to some of the videos on the online program, I was going, oh my God, my thinking mind that I thought, I better follow this logical thinking mind. And, my thinking mind is telling me, you shouldn't do this and you should do this and all of these things. And it's not me. Talk to me more about that, because that is so liberating.
Well, old psychology, if I can call it that, used to call what you've just described as your personality or your ego. But modern cognitive psychology has a much better name for it. It's called the conceptual self. It's a bundle of concepts. In other words, it's a bundle of thoughts. It's not you at all. It's only who you think you are. And it isn't the adult you thinking that you're this, that, or the other, because the thoughts that you use to create your conceptual self every day, and it's recreated every day in exactly the same fashion every day, the thoughts that you use to create your conceptual self were learned when you were 3 years old. Or the big ones, the foundational ones, were learned between the age of 2 and 3. Then you kind of polished up your version of yourself up to the age of 12 or 13. And then, as we said a few minutes ago, your brain switched off. So you learned nothing about yourself after the age of 12 or 13. So if you think you are, what's some of the nonsense that I hear? You're suffering from low self-esteem, or you're an introvert, or you're lacking self-confidence. It isn't even you that's thinking that. It's your 3-year-old self that's thinking that and telling it to you today as if it's actually happening you today. Yeah. And it isn't you at all.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I tell you what's more amazing. What's more amazing is discovering who you are once you would get thought out of the way.
Yeah.
Because as you said a few minutes ago, when you made the connection between meditation and what it does to the brain and the need we have to meditate to take charge of our own state of mind, you described the excitement. The real excitement comes when you discover, first of all, that you can achieve things that you thought you couldn't achieve. You can even say things to people that you thought you wouldn't get away with. We had a lady on Zoom, if you recollect, about 4 weeks ago, who had said something to, obviously, her husband that she thought she could never say to him, and it transformed their relationships, their relationship, simply by virtue of the fact that she said what she knew she needed to say.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were on that Zoom.
I forget.
Because there were a couple of tears shed, I do believe, as well. Tears of joy. Because once we take control of our state of mind through meditation is the key, then we begin to discover who we really are. But even more importantly, we discover what we can do and what we can achieve. And we start actually getting results without having to push to get those results, without having to try too hard to get those results. How many times have you heard on our program owner Zooms people saying to us that things seem to have fallen into their lap. Things kind of feel as if they just happen. Now, of course, nothing in life just happens. Everything in life happens because you did the right thing. If you're thinking, you're never going to do the right thing.
Yeah, that to me, you know, I don't know, maybe 8 weeks now into doing a lot of this work, and I'm finding in every day that adventure is become an adventure, because it's about getting up in the morning, doing the meditation, doing mini meditations during the day, and then watching the day unfold. And then when the wheels fall off, I find, you know, I'm so aware of going back into my mini meditation.
Well, you've used the word aware, and you used the word awareness earlier on as well, and that's what this is all about. Being aware. And even if the wheels have fallen off, being aware that the wheels have fallen off. Because most people's lives are going around wheelless, and they're not aware that they're dragging themselves around the place. It'd be much easier if they could cruise around with a nice set of wheels.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's you know, they talk about craziness, but how crazy that the world is, how crazy we are.
That's another really interesting thing, because when we talk about awareness, as we did a moment ago, one of the first things that happens people when they begin to develop their presence of mind through meditation is that they become aware of just how mad everything is around us. I mean, you see it on the roads, people fighting with each other. You see it in supermarket car parks. You see it at the checkout in supermarkets. You see it in what's going on social media, what's going on in our world. Madness is all around us. But that's normal. And that's the terrible thing. According to the University of Chicago, 96% of people are normal crazy. They're living this version of their lives, assuming that the version that their thoughts have given them of themselves is actually them, and that they need to fight to get what they want, or they need to struggle to get what they want. But if you take your thinking out of the equation, there is no struggle, there is no stress. You just do what you need to do. You don't think about it. And what needs to be done gets done, and what doesn't need to be done, you don't bother doing it at all. And life becomes like a cruise rather than struggle and stress. Just in relation to, because some people listening to this will say to themselves, that sounds like nonsense, that suddenly I can get rid of stress out of my life. But we must remember that even if we didn't take into account the way in which we behave as a result of being aware, the way in which we do what we need to do as a result of being aware, and how that makes our lives so much more easy for us, we must realize that even at its most basic level, meditation does the exact opposite to the body, to what stress does to the body. Stress is killing people every day. Stress will, ordinary everyday stress, not talking about big stress, getting annoyed with the children, getting annoyed with your boss at work, getting annoyed because you're stuck in traffic, as if you could do anything about being stuck in traffic, getting annoyed about stuff over which you have no control. That's the stuff that shortens our lifespan by on average 7 years, either through heart disease or a breakdown in the immune system or the digestive system, because stress increases the heart rate and blood pressure. It increases the production of bad fatty cholesterol in the cardiovascular system. It suspends operation of the immune system, and it damages the digestive system. Meditation does the exact opposite. In the same way as meditation will enable a 75-year-old start regenerating their own brain, meditation will enable somebody who has a cholesterol problem as a result of stress undo the buildup of cholesterol in the cardiovascular system. Meditation reduces the heart rate, it reduces blood pressure, and it boosts the digestive system and the immune system. One of your fellow program owners, and I didn't realize it, and he should have told me at the time, was on some kind of meditation to bring down his blood pressure after he had had open heart surgery. He'd had open heart surgery and was recovering from open heart surgery, and like you, stumbled across me online and became an online program owner. But he was on, I don't know what pills he was on for his blood pressure, but he started meditating, and it brought his blood pressure down so much that he fell off his chair and gave himself a black eye. He fainted. And as he said, he had an interview the following day. Luckily, it was during lockdown, during COVID, and his niece came around and put a bit of makeup on his eye, so he looked okay on Zoom for the interview. But he had actually fainted because his blood pressure had dropped so much. Now, his doctors took him off the medication for both his blood pressure and his cholesterol.
That's an amazing story. It's the power of meditation. You're reminding me of when I was injured, the brain injury. I stumbled across something to do with meditation. I didn't really explain what meditation did, but I thought, I can't move, I can't do anything, I might as well meditate. So I started meditating, not knowing what I was doing, really, or having any awareness, but long story, but when I eventually came to work with a neurologist in Russia, he said to me, you've got half the work done for your healing. And I had been telling him about the meditation. So it fits with your story.
And I've so many stories, and we refer to some of the people who were on Zoom a week or two ago. The things they've done to their own physical health, for their own physical health, I should say, as a result of taking charge of what's going on between their own two ears. Healthy mind, healthy body.
Yeah.
Healthy mind, healthy brain, as you know.
Yeah, it's that kind of, not forgotten, but when I recovered, I got back into life and the normal crazy kind of living, and then came back to your work realizing, hang on, that's what meditation does. That's the power of meditation. Realizing what I had done to recover from the brain injury.
Isn't that interesting, Julie?
Yeah.
That you had a life-changing experience as a result of meditation and then forgot it.
Yeah.
Because of the way the normal mind works. Yeah. Because of thinking. That's
how I've been inspired coming on your program, is going, wow, that's the thinking mind. This is just amazing, a message. And that's why I wanted you to, on my podcast, getting that message out to people. Because I know I've said to people, friends of mine, about meditating, and they're like, oh, that's kind of the Irish, how we slag each other, going, oh, so you're meditating, or you'd be chanting up a mountain next, friends that I might run with, or, would be kind of fairly practical, sporty people, and they're like, yeah, sure, meditation. So that's the reaction that, I find a lot of people to meditation. And I'm now saying to people, hang on here. Where does somebody start if they're forget about the word thinking, but if they're their gut instinct is going, oh, maybe I need to do some of this meditation, and have never experienced meditation?
I think, first of all, Julie, that attitude to meditation, you're meditating. You're one of those weirdos, are you?
Exactly.
That attitude to meditation is meditation's own fault. And by that I mean the way in which meditation is generally taught. It's generally taught, in the parish hall, sit down, cross your legs for an hour for 8 weeks and then forget about it.
Yeah.
And with the result that it has had very little impact, because you mentioned mini meditation as well. If you're not calling yourself to awareness during the course of the day as well, your meditation in the morning is going to take much longer to actually have the impact that it will inevitably have on your brain. And the problem with that is that if people aren't seeing the impact fairly quickly, like anything else, normal crazy people pick something up and say, that isn't working, and put it down again.
Yeah.
You need to meditate with the understanding that it isn't a nice to have, it is a need to do. Because until you take charge of your own state of mind, you're not actually living your life. Your life's passing you by. You're missing every moment of your life. And the really horrible part about it is you're not aware that that's happening.
Yeah.
Because you're caught up in your thinking mind. Where would you start? Well, you would start by meditating, and anybody can meditate, and any meditation that you might come across online, even if you Google meditation on YouTube, you could start any meditation bearing in mind that you're meditating for a reason. You're not meditating to meditate. You're not meditating to feel nice. You're meditating to take charge of your state of mind and restructure the key components of your brain that will enable you sail through a life that your thinking mind couldn't even begin to imagine. So you can pick up any meditation anywhere as long as you understand the importance of what you're doing. You're not doing it to feel nice. You're not doing it because it'll calm you down for the time that you're meditating. You're meditating to change the way your brain operates. And that's something we haven't really touched on in this conversation. Very briefly, we talked about turning on the so-called attentional spotlight earlier on. We talked about people over 75 years of age rejuvenating their neural pathways. When you meditate regularly, not only do you turn on your ability to be present, your attentional spotlight in the left prefrontal cortex of the brain, you restructure it. And that restructures the key components of the subcortical brain, what I would call the doing brain, which means you can do what you need to do to get to where you want to go in life. Completely different part of the brain to the muddled back of the brain where all the thinking is saying, oh, no, you can't do that. Little old me couldn't have that kind of life. Forget it. So the answer to your question is pick up any meditation, but understand why you're doing it. Yes. And you see, that's one of the key things that the online program has provided you with.
Yes.
The understanding, the structure, and the support that you get when we all get together on our Wednesday evening Zooms, because we're all in it together and people fall over, the wheels come off, as you said earlier on, and people are getting better and better at making sure if the wheels do come off, and they inevitably will, that you can put them back on straight away. Now, when I say they inevitably will, you'll eventually get to the point where the wheels don't come off anymore. So what you described as an adventure right at the beginning is the adventure of a lifetime.
Yes, and that's exciting. That's kind of I was looking at an old vision board that I'd had before I started the online program. And I'd been looking at that vision board thinking, my gut instinct, it was actually my gut instinct saying, there's something missing from the vision boards. And I hear a lot about vision boards, and I'm dyslexic, so I'm very visual. So, I'm now beginning to join the dots on that. So maybe we could talk a little bit about people doing vision boards. I know in part of the online program, the Zoom calls, there's been a lot about perfect moments and writing things down, which I've started to do now. And that with the meditation, with my vision board, I've rejigged my vision board.
Of course you have, because your mind is now clearer, and you're clearer in relation to what happiness really is.
Yeah.
If we go back to earlier in this conversation where we talked about learning everything you know or you think you know about yourself during the third year of our lives, that learning happens through a process known as snapshot learning. In other words, a part of the subcortical brain that I mentioned a moment ago takes psychological snapshots. Something's done to you when you were 3 years of age, makes you feel bad about yourself. You take a psychological snapshot and you play that in similar circumstances for the rest of your life and feel bad about yourself, same every time. We can take new psychological snapshots. And we take new psychological snapshots by, as you alluded to a moment ago, handwriting perfect moments. But let's tease this apart a little bit, because you said you're dyslexic, and therefore visuals mean more to you and are less challenging to you than handwriting. In the same way, for example, I worked with a leadership team in a large pharmaceutical company many years ago, and you can't get 10 people in a leadership team to handwrite a single perfect moment. Logistically, it's not possible. They can't all hold the pen at the same time. So what they did was draw, literally, the vision on a flip chart. Now, some of them were not very good drawers, but drawing engages the mind in exactly the same way as handwriting engages the mind. And in either circumstance, when the mind is that engaged, and what I mean by that is to handwrite what you see, feel, hear, smell, and taste in a moment where you've arrived, where all is well, which is what perfect moments basically in a single sentence are. When you handwrite stuff like that, the amount of attention required as a result of the hand-eye coordination opens up that part of the subcortical brain to taking a new psychological snapshot, because we're paying an unusual amount of attention. So it takes a new psychological snapshot, as a result of which you have a new belief. You know, people talk about, believing in something. And most people will say, I believe I'm fundamentally flawed or undeserving. That's something I come across very often as well. And of course they do, because that's what we were taught when we were 2 or 3 years of age, particularly in my age, Holy Catholic Ireland. But we won't go there. That's neither here nor there. Beliefs are simply deeply held thoughts. Most people go around believing themselves to be less than they actually are because of the deeply held thoughts they took on board as a result of snapshot learning when they were 2 or 3 years old. We can give ourselves new beliefs, and we do that by, in the online program, we talk about handwriting, how it feels to be where you are now when we're actually writing about where you want to be. In other words, I said that badly. You write down how it looks and feels to have arrived as if you're already there. And that's what gives the psychological snapshot to the subcortical brain. Vision boards do exactly the same thing. But I've seen people's vision boards, and they have all kinds of contradictory things on the vision boards. They've this car and that holiday and this house and whatever. And it's like a mishmash of stuff to the point where the poor subconscious mind is saying to itself, well, which bit is actually important here? Which bit? You talked about gut instinct a minute ago. Your gut instinct will say, no, she doesn't really want that. She only thinks she wants that. And vision boards are like half taking the psychological snapshot, because they don't have the same impact as using your hands to write, or, as I said a minute ago, draw. Even if you think you can't draw, everybody can draw a stick man or a stick woman. To draw what it feels like to have it all. And that's how we set our minds to achieve the things our heart desires, not what we think we want. Everybody with whom I've ever worked, when I've asked them first, what do you really want out of life? They'll give you stuff that they think they want. You know, the guy next door has a bigger car. I want one of those. They go on better holidays. These are all quotes, by the way. This is how mad people are. Somebody told me a few years ago that his wife told me she would leave him if they didn't start going on holidays that were as good as their next door neighbors. I'm not making that up, because we think we want stuff to make us happier. Now, the happiness we already have, we just don't know it. And we don't know it because we're caught up in our own thoughts. Let your thoughts float away as a result of meditation, and you'll discover happiness. Because as Anthony de Mello says, somebody said to him, "Oh, I'm going on a pilgrimage to Burma. I'm going to climb to a mountaintop and see if I can discover happiness." And de Mello said, "You're not going to discover happiness there." He said, "If you can't find happiness inside, where did you think you were going to find it?"
Mm-hmm.
Happiness is an inner thing. Our outer world is as a result of our inner world. If our inner world is crowded by thought, our outer world is a mess. If my inner world is calm, my outer world is beautiful. And I don't just mean beautiful in terms of I'm enjoying the same old life that I had before. I mean, I have a new life. I have new things happening in my life. I have what we call in the online program, synchronicities happening in my life. You talked about joining the dots a few minutes ago. Mm-hmm. Things that are put in front of us, signposts that are put in front of us, that we say, oh, I need to go in this direction. And we don't think about it. We just know. You talked again about gut instinct a minute ago. Yeah. That's the subcortical brain talking to you. I need to go with this particular sign that has been given to me at this point in time.
Yeah. So our gut instinct, that's really where is the real, is more the real me.
It is the real you. Yeah. Yeah. We call it our gut instinct because we feel it in our bodies.
Yeah.
And that's what meditation enables us to do. Feel the reality of who and what we are in our bodies, because ultimately our bodies are kind of vessels for flowing energy. We're energy in an energetic universe. Mm-hmm. And when we allow that energy flow, our lives flow.
I'm blown away, I think, by so many things, but the gut instinct, quite often, if people listening to this will find, when I pay attention to my gut instinct, I can remember things flowing before I came on and had the awareness. And now the gut instinct with awareness is, again, like the meditation. I'm like, oh, what I feel that. So I'm going to follow through on it and not think it through.
Our thoughts, when we use our mind normally, our thoughts push our gut instinct into the background. Meditation enables it to come back into the foreground and gain center stage where it needs to be in our lives. So go back to the start of this conversation, Julie, when you talked about logic and logical thought. Throw logic out the window. Because if you think about it, and thinking is a dangerous thing, if you think about it, logic will tell you that, here I am at A and I want to get to H. So that's going to take me 5 years and I need to go through steps B, C, D, E, F, and G to get there. Throw that away, because if I'm at A and I set my mind by writing what it feels like to be at H, my gut instinct will tell me, well, you're at A, there's an opportunity to be at F, and there's an opportunity to be at Y, and suddenly I land on H. That's the way the subconscious mind, the subcortical brain, our gut instinct actually works in practice.
Yeah. And that's because the other is exhausting.
It's exhausting, and worse than that, it will continue to confirm to you that you can't get what you want. Because the thinking mind is designed not to obstruct change or to get in the way of change. The thinking mind is designed to ensure that you cannot change your life. Because in evolutionary times, change was dangerous.
Yes, because you've talked about that, the survival, the thinking mind and the attentional spotlight, if I call that right, is we were set up for survival.
Oh, sorry. 10,000 years ago, our only objective was to make it back to bed tonight.
Yeah.
So you get in your car in 2024 to go to work. You think you're going to do this, that, and the other. You think you're going to have a great day. You think you might do something today that'll move your life forward or change your life. And your thinking mind, all it's doing is saying, I need to get back to bed tonight.
Yeah.
And that's why people can't change their lives. That's why people struggle. No, they think they're struggling. That's why they struggle.
Yeah. It becomes like Groundhog Day. I remember seeing there was some movie where
Well, you must remember that the neural lab in UCLA in California calculated that the average human being has 70,000 thoughts whizzing through their head during the waking part of their day. So we're talking about 70,000 thoughts over maybe 17 hours every day. And that 97% of today's thoughts are the same as yesterday's thoughts. Tomorrow will be a repeat performance. And all of the thoughts came from before the age of 12, particularly, as we said earlier on, during the third year of our lives.
That's just amazing.
We're set up for Groundhog Day. Why? Our objective is to make it through the day. That's the way the thinking mind operates.
Yeah.
Not to do anything great, not to enjoy yourself, not to have fun, not to be happy.
Yeah.
Just make it through the day.
Make it through the day.
So if you want to be happy, if you want to be successful, if you want to be carefree, if you want to have peace of mind, if you want to have all the good stuff that life can offer you fall into your lap, you need to stop thinking. And you stop thinking by meditating. It's as simple as that.
It is. That's, yeah. So, you know, for somebody listening to this now, as I was stuck before I came on your program, I started this year in 2024. My gut instinct was telling me there was something missing. And I went on that search. And that's what led me to really coming on your program, because I allowed my gut instinct to talk to me. And that has got me unstuck. So I'm very conscious of people being stuck, of somebody listening to this now going, oh, that's all really interesting. You know, and I think I know the answer to this, but what do you say to them?
You explain to them what we've been exploring in this conversation, that they are stuck because they think they're stuck, and they think they're stuck because that's the way their mind operates automatically until they do something about it. And you do something about it by starting to meditate with that awareness that I'm doing this to not unstick myself, because I'm not stuck, I only think I'm stuck, but to stop the thoughts telling me I'm stuck.
Yeah, I'm stuck. That's key. It's the thoughts that are telling me I'm stuck. So if I use,
So many people have said to me, oh, my own worst enemy, I keep getting in my own way.
Yeah.
No, you're not your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
Your thoughts
are
your own worst enemy. And your thoughts are nothing until you give them your attention.
Yeah.
What meditation enables us to do is pay attention to the here and now. And that cuts off the oxygen supply to your thoughts. It's like unplugging the life support machine for your conceptual self.
Yeah. That is really speaking to me. The thoughts, I'm using myself as an example here of somebody that was stuck, but my thoughts were telling me I was stuck. I was giving those thoughts a huge amount of attention. I've stopped doing that, and bingo. That is absolutely wonderful, and that's why I'm keep coming back to my journey, because I know friends that are similar, you know, of using myself as an example here, but it's wonderful and it's liberating. And as you've said, it's simple, but it needs, if somebody's listening to this, for me, I had to decide, this is what my gut instinct is telling me. This is simple. I'm going to do it. Not just listen to the videos.
Yeah. Look, there's so many so-called self-help books out there.
Yeah.
So many self-help courses, so many better yourself, this, that, or the other. And I had a client many years ago, long before I was online, who used to regularly send me his latest favorite book.
Yeah.
The self-help industry is a huge industry in the United States. And what's been discovered is most of the people who will spend most of the billions of dollars this year will be the same people next year, because all they're doing is reading the books and looking at the videos. I said to my friend, will you stop sending me the books? Now, I didn't say it quite like that, but let's keep the party clean. I said, will you stop sending me the books? It's like you are, in the old days, getting all the holiday brochures, but never booking a ticket. You're never going on a holiday. You need to go on the holiday. Yeah. You need to do what you need to do. Stop reading about it. Yeah. Stop listening to stuff like this about it, although this will provide you with the guidelines.
Yeah.
Do it. Meditate. Yeah. And even if you think it isn't meditating, well, isn't that stupid? Because that's only thinking.
That's your thoughts. Yeah. And that's, I think, a great note to finish this conversation with is do it. Just do it. My elderly mother has a poster on her kitchen cupboard. When she opens it up every morning, it says, just do it. And that's it, that practice, that kind of, just do this. What I'm finding with meditation is when I started back into it through your online program, I stopped listening to my thoughts saying, oh, I'm not a great meditator. Oh, I'm not doing this right. Oh, I just didn't pay any attention to those thoughts. And now I've gone from 5 minutes in the morning to 30 minutes in the morning. And it's going to get better. I know it's going to get better because I'm going to do more work with you. So, it's going to get better. So, but the key for me was to stop, not listen to my thoughts.
And that is, as you said a minute ago, it's a choice you make. We've all choices to make. And if you don't deliberately make a choice, your automatic pilot makes the choice for you. Yeah. And it makes the choice based on stuff you learned when you were 3 years old. So it'll always be the wrong choice.
Yeah.
You need to start taking responsibility for your life and making the right choice deliberately.
That is a great note to this conversation. Isn't finished. It goes on. But I know for the purpose of the podcast and people listening, I think that is a good note to finish up on, Willie. Thank you so much.
Julie, thank you so much. Delighted to chat.
I have so many takeaways from my conversation with Willie Horton. The first is he talks about our thinking mind getting in the way of everything, and that scientific studies, Willie, the studies he talks about say that we have 70,000 thoughts on average through our waking day. All the thoughts come before the age of 12. They're psychological snapshots we take when we're 2 to 3 years of age, and this is polished by the time we're 12, and that we're acting out of these psychological snapshots we took when we were children. We're acting out of this when we're adults, and that our thinking mind is set up for survival and doesn't want change. The good news that Willie talks about is that meditation is the only scientific validated way we have to turn back on those parts of the brain that we need to live our lives fully. Meditation, Willie says, is not a nice to have, it's a need to do. A meditation with awareness of why we're doing it. What's the reason for the meditation? That's key, doing meditation with awareness. And until you take charge of your thinking mind, your life would pass you by. This really struck me. You meditate to take charge of your life and restructure the key components of your brain that will allow you to live your life fully. And again, the key to doing this is doing meditation with awareness. He also talks about our gut instinct. And when we use our minds normally, our thoughts push our gut instinct to the background. But when we meditate, our gut instinct moves to the front, to center stage. I really love this because too often I've ignored my gut instinct, but I am certainly paying attention to my gut instinct going forward. Willie also talks about the vision boards, and that I have a vision board. So this really struck home to me that a vision board, the traditional vision board, is only half the work. We need to write down our perfect moments or draw our perfect moments. It mightn't be great artists, I'm not, but I just draw stick men and stick women and draw as best as comes to us. But the very act of drawing, it engages that part of the brain, we're using our senses, what we feel, what we see, what we hear, as if we already have it. So that really struck home to me, that the doing that work around our vision board, writing down or drawing our perfect moment, as well as creating our vision board. And my final takeaway is that if you want to be happy and successful, you need to stop thinking and you need to start meditating with awareness. To contact Willie, he's a website, www.willie-horton.com. He also has a podcast, Succeed, Just Let Go. And he's got a great online program, The Psychology of Success, as well as one-to-one coaching. So there's lots there if people want to follow up on Willie Horton. Again, this episode was sponsored by Julie Clark Candles and Mergy Natural Skincare.